I don't know when the habit started. Maybe the first week after Dad remarried, or maybe later, when things between them grew cold, but I'd find excuses to stop by her place. Sometimes it was just to return something I'd borrowed. Other times, no excuse at all. I'd stand in her doorway with some half-made reason ready, and she'd let me in anyway. That morning, it was nothing more than the need for coffee. Not hers. She wasn't the type to keep fancy beans around, but the little shop 2 blocks from her house. I'd already been there twice that week, and the barista knew me well enough to nod without asking my order. Still, it was her habit that kept me walking that way. She always sat by the window around 9, a book half open, her jacket draped over the chair like she never quite planned to stay. I told myself it was coincidence, but my feet didn't believe me. When I pushed through the door, the bell chimed. She glanced up, just that, eyes lifting, soft recognition, and I felt it, the kind of warmth that can't be measured. "You again," she said, not unkind. Her smile tugged, like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to have it. "Yeah, guess I'm predictable." I slid into the chair across from her. She didn't object. She never did. The coffee came quick, paper cup warm between my hands. I turned it slowly, tracing the seam with my thumb. She noticed. She noticed everything. "You stir like it's a ritual," she said. "It probably is." A silence sat with us then. Not heavy, just present. People passed outside the glass. Mothers with strollers, a man carrying groceries. The ordinary world moved on, while I sat there too aware of how close her hand was to mine on the table. Just an inch, maybe less. I thought about saying something, about her hair tied back loosely, or the way she always picked the corner seat, but the words caught in my throat. Instead, I said, "How's the house?" She sighed through her nose, eyes dropping to the untouched tea in front of her. Quiet. Too quiet sometimes. I nodded, like I knew what that felt like, and maybe I did. Nights in my own apartment stretched long. I'd start typing messages I never sent. Friends' names, her name, backspaced before the screen could accuse me of it. "You should get a plant," I said, voice lighter than I meant. "Something that needs you." Her laugh was short, almost startled. "You water plants like they're on life support." I smiled, because I liked that she remembered. A week ago, she teased me about the wilted fern I carried home. Details mattered to her. The minutes slid by, the kind that feel both too full and not enough. I folded the napkin in front of me, edge to edge, then again until it was small and square in my hand. She watched me do it, then looked away quick, like she wasn't supposed to. Finally, she pushed her chair back. I should go. Too much to do today. I wanted to ask her to stay, but I didn't. I just nodded, let the napkin sit useless on the table. She slipped on her jacket, paused like she might say more. Her hand brushed the back of my chair. Deliberate or accidental, I couldn't tell. Then she left. I sat there long after, coffee gone cold. My phone buzzed once in my pocket. I pulled it out. A message. Just her name at the top, and the words, "I could lose everything." I stared, heart in my throat, thumbs frozen over the screen. Then I typed back before I could stop myself. "I'll keep coming back." And I meant it. I didn't answer her text right away. For an hour, I just let it sit there, glowing against the dark. I could lose everything. What did that even mean? By the time I finally walked back to her place, I told myself I was only returning the book she'd loaned me. That excuse was weak, but it gave me something to hold in my hands. She opened the door slow, like she'd been standing on the other side debating it. Her eyes landed on the book, then on me. "You didn't have to come back tonight," she said. I couldn't sleep. My voice betrayed me. Too quiet, too steady. She stepped aside. I went in. The house smelled faintly of cinnamon, faintly of nothing. I set the book on the counter, and neither of us touched it again. She busied herself with the kettle. Tea. I nodded, though I never liked tea much. She poured 2 mugs, her hands steady but her shoulders carrying something unspoken. We sat at the kitchen table, the steam curling between us. I wrapped my fingers around the cup, pretending I needed the warmth. After a while she said, almost to herself, "When I was your age, I thought life would always feel full, like every room would have someone in it. I didn't think about what it meant when people left. I didn't know what to say. My throat felt dry. Finally, you're not the only one who feels that way." Her eyes flicked to mine, something sharp, then soft. She shifted the mug, turning it in her hands the same way I had with my coffee earlier that morning. A mirror I didn't want to notice. "You know this isn't simple," she said. I gave a small laugh, not because it was funny, but because it was the only way to cover the weight of her words. "Yeah, I know." The silence stretched. My thoughts slipped into places they shouldn't. What people would think if they knew, how my dad would look at me, the way her voice might crack if he ever found out. I hated myself for imagining it, hated how close we were sitting, how right it felt when it shouldn't. The kettle ticked as it cooled. Car passed outside. I looked at her hand resting on the table, the pale curve of her wrist, and I had to grip my cup tighter to keep from reaching. "I don't know why I'm telling you this," she said finally, shaking her head as if to erase her own words. "Maybe because you needed to," I said. Came out softer than I intended. Her mouth parted like she might answer, but instead she smiled faintly, tiredly. Then she reached across and tapped the edge of my mug with her finger. Just that, a tiny gesture, almost nothing. But it sent a current through me I couldn't disguise. I don't know why that moment stayed with me. Maybe because it felt like someone finally saw me. The next time wasn't planned. It never was, really. I was walking back from the store, plastic bag cutting into my fingers, when I saw her on the porch. She was fixing the lock, kneeling with a screwdriver in her hand, hair falling loose around her face. "You need help?" I asked. She looked up fast, as if caught doing something she shouldn't. Then softer, "It's just sticking again." "I've got it." I set my bag down anyway. The screwdriver was warm from her hand when she passed it over. I bent close, shoulder brushing hers as I turned the screws. Too close. I knew it. "Better?" I asked. She tested the knob. "Better." We stood there for a second too long. Her eyes dropped to the bag at my feet. Groceries. Just noodles. And a can of soup. I laughed under my breath. Bachelor survival kit. That earned a small smile from her. But it faded quick, replaced by something heavier. She folded her arms across her chest, pulling the cardigan tighter. "You shouldn't be here so much," she said quietly. The words landed sharper than she intended, maybe. I almost answered, almost said I couldn't help it, but then the sound of footsteps cut through. Her neighbor, Mrs. Keller, the one with the endless roses, walked past the gate, eyes darting between us. She offered a polite hello. We both answered at once, voices overlapping, too fast. Mrs. Keller kept walking, but the air between us shifted. "She'll talk," I murmured. "She always does," she replied, voice low, almost resigned. The porch suddenly felt smaller, the street too open. She glanced toward the door like escape, then back at me. "I should go," I said, though I didn't move. She shook her head faintly. "You never just go." The bag handles dug deeper into my fingers. I imagined her pulling back for good. No more coffee shop mornings. No more quiet tea in her kitchen. Just distance. That thought burned worse than the gossip ever could. She reached out then, quick, like she meant to stop the thought before it showed on my face. Her hand brushed my sleeve. Barely anything. But I froze, waiting for her to move it away. She didn't, not right away. Her eyes flicked to mine, searching, warning, asking. I leaned in before I could think. Just enough that the air between us felt thin, like one breath might erase it. She didn't step back, didn't close it either. The sound of a car door slammed somewhere down the street, jolting us apart. She pulled her hand back, slow, like it weighed more than it should. "I'll see you later," she said. The words were steady, but her voice wasn't. I nodded, throat tight. My bag felt heavier than before as I picked it up. I walked away, but every step I kept replaying that almost how close we'd come and how close we still were. It was late afternoon when I saw her walking back from the market, paper bag tucked under her arm. I caught up, offered to carry it. She hesitated, then let me. The bag was lighter than it looked. Apples, bread, nothing that should have made her hand tremble when she passed it over. We walked in silence for half a block. The sun was low, painting everything in that tired gold light. She stopped once to adjust her jacket, but really it was just to breathe. "You don't have to keep showing up," she said, eyes forward. "I know." Her voice was steady, mine wasn't. "I can't." She trailed off, pulling the strap of her bag tighter against her shoulder. "People already watch me. You know that, right?" I nodded. Too quickly. "Let them." She glanced at me then, sharp, like I'd missed the point. "You think it's that easy? I could lose everything." The words echoed her message from before, but this time, spoken aloud, they cut deeper. I wanted to say I didn't care. I wanted to say I'd carry all of it if she let me, but my throat closed around the words. We reached the park and sat down on a bench. The bag rested between us like a boundary line. She smoothed the hem of her skirt, fingers brushing over her knee again and again. "Do you ever wonder what people would think?" she asked suddenly. "All the time," I admitted. My honesty startled even me. And I still end up here." She laughed softly, almost bitter. "You're young. You think showing up is enough." I looked at her hands, how carefully she held them folded now, as if she didn't trust them to stay still otherwise. "Maybe it is," I said. Silence. A bird dipped low over the grass. The world kept moving like none of this mattered. Then she whispered, barely audible, "Sometimes I wish you'd stop." The air caught in my lungs. "Do you mean that?" Her eyes closed just for a second. "No. And that's the problem." I couldn't look away from her. The line between us, the bag, the rules, the years, it all felt flimsy, like one breath could collapse it. "I don't know what you want from me," I said, voice low. She turned then, fully, eyes steady on mine. "Neither do I." The bag tipped over, an apple rolling onto the grass. She bent to pick it up, fingers brushing mine when I reached too. We froze there, both hands on the same apple, both too slow to let go. Her breath hitched. Mine did too. For a moment, everything narrowed to that touch, that almost choice. She let go first. The apple sat heavy in my palm. She leaned back, eyes searching mine like she was asking something without words. I opened my mouth, but nothing came. And in the silence that followed, the only question left hung between us. What happens if we don't stop? After the park, things shifted. Not loudly, not with any fight. Just a quiet rearranging I didn't notice until it was already happening. She stopped answering right away. Hours passed before a reply came, if it came at all. The next time I walked past the coffee shop at 9. Her chair by the window was empty. No book, no jacket, nothing. I told myself she was busy. But 3 mornings in a row, the glass reflected only strangers. I tried her house once, a half excuse about borrowing tools. The porch light was on, but no one came to the door. I stood there with my hands in my pockets, pretending the silence wasn't personal. By the 4th day, I convinced myself to wait. Maybe I'd see her walking back from work. Instead, A car pulled into the driveway. A teenager climbed out, dark hair, her eyes. He carried a duffel bag, tossed it over his shoulder, and disappeared inside. Her son. I'd heard of him, never seen him. Away at school, I thought. Too young to be me, too old to ignore. The sight of him changed everything I thought I understood. I didn't knock, just stood across the street, watching the curtains shift as if someone had seen me. The next text I typed stayed unsent. You don't have to explain. Delete. Do you want me to stop? Delete. Finally, just her name in the box, cursor blinking like it was waiting for me to finish a sentence I couldn't. Days blurred. My routine grew thinner. Instant meals, long walks, too much time staring at a phone that stayed dark. I stopped going to the coffee shop altogether. Without her there, the place felt stripped of meaning. One night, I caught myself dialing her number. I let it ring once before ending the call. My chest was tight with something that wasn't heartbreak exactly. More like a pause in the middle of a song, the part where silence stretches and you're not sure if the music will return. I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt paused, like life forgot to finish the sentence. I left the phone face down on the table. Across the room, the fern I'd tried to keep alive was browning at the edges. I hadn't watered it in weeks. For the first time since this began, I didn't go back. Her porch stayed unvisited. The chair at the cafe stayed empty. And I let it, or maybe it let me. I found myself on her doorstep again. Not planned, not timed. Just a night when the silence in my apartment felt like it might swallow me whole. The porch light was on. I thought about turning back. But then the door opened. She was there, cardigan draped over her shoulders, as if she'd been waiting without admitting it. You shouldn't be here, she said. I know. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she stepped aside. I went in. The house was dim, only the kitchen light humming. A mug sat on the counter, half full of tea gone cold. We didn't sit right away. I leaned against the doorway, hands shoved in my pockets. She stood by the counter, fingers tracing the rim of her mug. Finally, she spoke. My son's home for a while. I saw. Her hand stilled. Then you understand. I swallowed. I understand it makes things harder. But I don't understand why that means I can't. I stopped. Couldn't finish. Her eyes lifted. Tired. Scared. Because this isn't just about me. It's about what people would say. What he would say. What it would mean for you. I took a step closer. And what if I already know what it means for me? She shook her head, almost laughing but without humor. You don't. You think it's just about showing up. But it costs more than that. Silence pressed between us. I could hear the clock in the living room, steady, merciless. I'm not asking you to promise anything, I said quietly. I'm just telling you I don't want to stop. Her breath caught. She looked away, like if she met my eyes too long the truth might spill out. You make it sound simple, she whispered. It's not simple, but it's real. Her shoulders slumped, the fight in her softening. She pressed her palms flat against the counter, steadying herself. Then, almost too faint to hear, I don't know how to let someone close again. I moved another step, slow, careful. Close enough to see the way her hair fell loose at her temple, the way her mouth trembled around the words she didn't say. You don't have to know, I said. You just let me be here. For a long moment she didn't move. Then finally she turned. Her hand lifted, hesitant, and brushed the edge of my sleeve. The touch was small, almost nothing, but it held everything. Her eyes met mine, searching, weighing the cost. I didn't push. I didn't lean closer. I just let the silence carry what we couldn't. At last, she gave the faintest smile. Fragile but real. Okay, she said. That was it. Not a kiss, not a promise. Just that one word. enough to hold the weight of everything between us. Time passed in small, unremarkable ways. Days that used to ache with silence began filling themselves again. Grocery runs, late shifts, messages I actually sent instead of deleting. But the space she'd left didn't close. It softened, like a bruise fading under the skin but never fully gone. When I saw her again, it wasn't planned. It never was with us. I was at the cafe, same corner table, black coffee cooling in my hand. I'd stopped checking the door months ago, but that morning, 8:47, I remember, the bell chimed, and there she was. Not by accident. Not with hesitation. Just there. She ordered tea the way she always had, and carried it to my table without asking. No smile, no preface. Just the sound of her mug setting down across from mine. For a while, neither of us spoke. The quiet felt familiar, not sharp anymore. I noticed her jacket folded neatly this time, not draped like she might leave. Her eyes lingered on my cup. "Still black?" she asked. "Still bitter," I answered. Her laugh was soft, the kind that warmed the air without trying. Felt like a door opening. Not all the way, but enough. We walked afterward, the long loop through the park where the bench still stood. The same one where the apple had rolled between us, where silence once pressed like a weight. Now it felt lighter. She sat, smoothing her skirt the way she always did, and I joined her. "I thought I'd lost this," she said quietly, staring out at the grass. "What?" "The part of me that lets someone stay." I didn't reach for her hand. I just sat close enough that our shoulders brushed. That was enough. The world moved on around us. Kids shouting, a dog tugging its leash. But for once, we weren't chasing or hiding from it. She turned then, met my eyes. No speeches, no confessions. Just a look that carried all the pauses, the almosts, the words we'd left unsaid. I gave her the smallest nod, and she gave me the faintest smile. That was our version of choosing. Not fireworks, not vows. Just a quiet agreement. We were here and we'd keep showing up. Later, when I walked her home, she let me carry the bag again. Apples, bread, simple things. Her son wasn't there that day. The house lights glowed steady, like they belonged to both of us now. Inside, she set water to boil, and I leaned against the doorway, same as before. "Tea?" she asked. I smiled. "Yeah." The kettle hissed, the clock ticked. Nothing dramatic. Just 2 mugs on the counter, steam rising into the soft evening air. And I thought, after everything, this is what stayed. The quiet, the closeness, the way her hand brushed mine when she passed me the cup. Small enough for the world to miss, big enough for us to know. Did this story stay with you? What kind of quiet, real love stories do you want to hear next?